So people like to tell the American people that your greatest power is this thing called the vote, right? Well, yes, that's an extremely powerful thing, but it's not the only power that we have. That we just have this one day where we all get to, ding, make a vote, make a person president, make a person congressman. Our vote is it. And that's it. Is that true? No. You have the power to petition your government. You have the power to lobby. This is like what you have all these groups. And you get together in groups and you do these things, right? You go and you send letters to your congressman, your city council, to the president, to state senators, to Washington, D.C., all these different people, anyone elected. You're sending all these letters out there and trying to produce the idea that you believe that should be done, right? That's the second power. But what about when government is where you're concerned that the government has gone too far? People have come in and kind of perverted this particular power. They've perverted it because they've tried to tell you that this doesn't exist to you and that in order for you to protect these other issues, you need a gun, right? You need the gun. Second Amendment remedy. No. You actually have three core major powers as an individual, but even more when you band together as groups and work collectively as groups in these areas. And these are your ability to go to court and utilize the judiciary branch to cause change in government, to correct the government, to make certain that the government is adhering to the will of the Constitution. These areas are 18241 is 18242. 18242 is when the government comes in and deprives your rights. It can be held at times criminally liable for depriving you of your rights, or groups of people for their rights. And that is what deprivation of rights under color of law. So if the government comes in and injures you or your community, 18242 can put those government officials in jail for violating your rights. And of course, it depends on the nature of the damages. That's what I like about the law. It's only a paragraph long. But the law is basically depending upon how much damage is done after the deprivation of rights has taken place. Once it is paused, it's okay, so, or it's being addressed, how much damage was done, and the severity is based on that. And it can be anywhere from $1,000 fine to some person all the way up to, life imprisonment and execution, which is lethal injection under the federal law. That's how powerful you are. That if the government comes and injures you, your friends, your family, and causes severe injury, the agents who did that can face the death penalty. They can face life imprisonment, or they can face years in prison. This is one power you possess, whether you're here as a citizen or not, if you're just inside of this country. It's important. Next is quo rantero. Quo rantero is a law that allows citizens to challenge the constitutionality of a person to be able to hold office, to hold federal office. Quo rantero has to be done by your state attorney general if it's done against Washington, D.C. That has to be done not between you and your attorney general, so there's a political thing. It has to be done between your group and a lawyer, and the lawyer talks to the attorney general of your state. What this is really good for Americans is, let's say, for example, let's take the different examples where we've tried to render people not constitutionally capable of holding public office. One example is a person can be born outside of the country. Famously was the birther case with Obama. But no one ever took it to court. Why? Because obviously Obama had his birth certificate, and that is all that you really need. So he's a U.S. citizen. Done. But had we simply did that, and we as Americans accepted that, okay, the court makes the decision, and the evidence in the court is the evidence in the court, and that fact-finding is true, and therefore we will we will agree with a court's decision. In addition, let's say you have someone in your state who's, someone who's in the federal government who's committed felonies, committed high crimes and misdemeanors in your mind. That's a violation of the impeachment clause. You can enforce the impeachment clause, but you have to get your attorney general to be willing to go to court to enforce the impeachment clause, to enforce the question that the Department of Justice asked in 2006, which was, if a person is a convicted felon, can they hold public office? The Department of Justice in 2006 believed that it would be unconstitutional. It would be a violation of the impeachment clause, even though the Constitution doesn't explicitly state that. They say that it kind of implicitly does inside of the impeachment clause. The next position is a bevis action. A bevis action is your ability to civilly sue to be able to sue the federal government for violating your civil rights, or the civil rights of the people of your group or your class or whatever. Now, what you can do in that particular case is you get attorneys and you file against the United States federal government. You can collect damages or maybe even compel them to do things as a result of taking these court actions. Your group can do that. Your power goes far beyond just voting. It's voting, it's the power to lobby your government, it's the power to petition your government, but most importantly, your power beyond voting is the power to go as a group to courts and compel the United States federal government to be honorable and ethical and follow the Constitution. The problem is our country doesn't do a lot of civics, right? We don't understand the powerful stories that go into each individual amendment and those things that make us. Now, if you find this information valuable, please like, share this video, and talk to your friends and your family about this. And hopefully you can buy my book, which is Restoring Honor in Washington, D.C., in Amazon. So thank you much. Bye-bye.